All right, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 83 of Random Thoughts. I'm joined today by James.
Back again.
And Durham is busy interviewing all the interns. So if you're one of those, fingers crossed you'll hear back pretty soon. Today's kind of a bit of a part two-ish from fortnight ago now. But it's also a standalone in a sense that last time, 2 weeks ago, we talked about protein. And now we want to talk about supplements.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. More towards the sort of long-term health span, sort of joint health and long-term performance.
Yeah.
Something that's going to make a huge difference straight away, but something you definitely, as an athlete, you want to be on top of.
Yeah, I suppose these are more the chronic supplements as opposed to your caffeine and your creatine, which give you a pretty instant hit in some cases. Yeah. So these are less stimulant, more joint health, nervous system health, recovery type things.
Key word, supplement.
Yeah, good point. Go more on that.
These should supplement your diet, not be sort of the main source of these supplements.
Exactly. You should be aiming to get most of your nutritional benefits and qualities and factors, macronutrients, micronutrients, water, all that stuff from natural food. So there's no point going, I hate green things, I'm never going to eat the green things, so I'll get all my sulfates and vitamin A and all those things from a supplement. Yeah. A pill and powders and stuff like that cannot replace good food.
100%.
So in that, I suppose we should start with omega-3s.
Yes.
Fish oil.
Fish oil. Yep. Pretty popular.
Yeah.
It's you can see it. You see it everywhere. I think where a good place to start with this one is omega-3 is obviously the good fat. Then you've got the omega-6s, which is your trans.
No. So it goes a little broader than that. So you've got trans fats, which are just the devil. They're carcinogenic, they cause cancer, they're artificially produced, so it's when humans take a liquid form of fat, say for example canola oil or sunflower oil or safflower oil, and they turn into a solid, like what they do in margarine, sausages, things like that. Yeah. And so in doing that though, when you cook it, it denatures it and makes it pretty nasty for the body. Yeah. That's trans. Then you've got saturated, and those guys are... they're kind of on the fence a bit. Like they're not good nor bad. Yep. They're kind of a bit of no man's land at the moment. There's a bit of a watch this space on those. Probably more towards bad. I wouldn't want to be going crazy on my
It's not something you want to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I wouldn't be eating sticks of butter.
Yep.
And then you've got your unsaturated fats, and that's your omega-6 and your omega-3s.
Yeah. And so the big thing here is the ratio.
Exactly.
There's a huge amount of population deficient in it, and just because of that ratio of omega-3 and omega-6s gets messed up, and it should be... I found different sort of sources of this. 1 to 4 omega.
That's 3 to 6.
Yeah, 3 to 6. So omega 1 to omega 6, 1 to 4. But sort of your lifespan professionals and your sort of paleo keto people, 1 to 1.
Which is pretty extreme.
Pretty extreme. But what you have to consider is the general population can go as far as 1 to 24.
Which is insane. So that's for every molecule of omega-3 in your body, you have 24 molecules or grams, whatever you want to measure, of omega-6, which is insane. And so your omega-6s, you get them primarily from like cooking oils. Yep. So vegetable oils, canola oil, safflower, like I mentioned before, those guys tend to be high in omega-6s. Whereas things like avocados,
seafood,
hence fish oil. We'll get into that in a second. And then, omega-3s are more like avocados, fish, I lost my train of thought, chia seeds, flaxseed, things like that. Yep. And so those guys are anti-inflammatory, while omega-6s are slightly inflammatory. Now, you don't want to eliminate your omega-6s. No. They're still normal, and inflammation is still part of the recovery process. It's still good for the body in some cases. But the problem is that, like you mentioned before, is it 1 to 24, which is insane. Which is probably
it's about balance. It's definitely about balance.
So getting closer to that, and so that's where your omega-3 fish oils are like a bit of insurance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you take them?
I do every day. The biggest thing that got me on top of it was the nervous system stuff. So your myelin sheath, which I think pretty sure I talked about myelin sheath last time I was here.
And I reckon I did the episode before that as well.
It's 80% fat.
60%. Myelin is like 100% fat. Yeah. But your brain, I stuffed this up in the protein episode, your brain is 60% fat. Yeah.
So having that good ratio of omega-3s to omega-6s is just really important for the nervous system. I did find a few studies, which we can link in the comments, of increasing your omega-3 intake, actually improving the efficiency of your nervous system. So the signal is getting from the brain to the muscle more efficiently, making you a more powerful athlete. It's
better conducted wires, effectively, better insulated. Yeah. That's amazing. The other benefit of omega-3s is joints.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Brain health, nervous system health. Also good for skin, hair, nails, kind of like your protein. Good protein content, good omega-3 content there. But the other one is joints. And joints really benefit from that the anti-inflammatory benefit of the omega-3. So people with osteoarthritis, things like that, all those sort of degenerative diseases or inflammatory diseases of the joint can get really grumpy. And that's due to wear and tear. That wear and tear creates inflammation. If you don't have the omega-3s to help balance that inflammation out, then you're in a bit of trouble.
And that can be inflammation not from eating terribly or anything like that, from exercising.
Yeah, just literally movement. Like the microtrauma, because like running, jumping, squatting, lifting, playing sport, whatever it is, it takes toll on your body. It's not for free.
It takes on, and those fats really work to take care of those reactive oxygen species, which just get in the way of protein synthesis, recovery, and the whole lot.
Is it ROS and RNS, reactive oxygen and reactive nitrogen species?
Yeah.
That's a whole other episode.
It is. It is.
How many do you take a day? How many grams?
I had two pills. Is 1,000
milligrams.
IU, international units.
Oh, okay, so it's a gram.
Each pill. So I'd have that, and then of course supplement. I balance it with the rest of my diet.
How much salmon do you eat?
I had salmon today.
Nice.
Yeah, salmon and broccolini.
Nice. So I take, this is where the confession comes out. I'm actually technically not vegetarian if you count my fish oil. Because I think I take 500 IUs or UI, so 1,500, or so 1.5 grams per day. And I take that in the morning with breakfast. I can't eat salmon though. I choose not to eat salmon. So I have flaxseed and I have chia and then nuts and avocados as my main makeup of that omega-3.
Being aware the body needs it and making sure you're getting your right sources.
Exactly. Where to next?
Vitamin D, I think, is a huge one.
And beautiful too, because it's complementary to omega-3s.
I think one of the biggest benefits is, the two big ones are bone health and immune function. And I feel, firstly, the vitamin D, when it works in the body, it helps the intestines absorb calcium, which of course everyone knows is really important for your bones. And it also works with a bunch of genes, upregulating a bunch of genes to help immune function. An athlete that has stronger bones and is sick less often is going to put in more high quality training sessions and overall be a better athlete. It's like your best ability is your availability. Yeah,
the less you're getting sick, the more you can train, the harder you can go. What's also cool about vitamin D, so typically we get it from the sun, is the most common place. There's mixed research as to how good the supplements are.
Yeah,
how
available
how much
they
you
are
need
to the body
and
as
stuff
well.
like that. I'm not taking it at the moment, but I'm very careful to make sure I get either just spend time in daylight or go outside for walks in the sun, stuff like that.
Eating lunch outside.
Spring and summer it's pretty fine. In winter in Melbourne it can be a little tougher. What's also interesting about vitamin D is its relationship to fats. So it is, in some people, consider vitamin D as much a hormone as they do a vitamin. Yeah, because it's
in the body.
Strongly linked to cholesterol.
Yeah.
If you have low cholesterol, you'll have low vitamin D levels as well, typically, which is then linked to your testosterone, which is then linked to your immune function, which is then linked to your performance and your power and things like that. So having good vitamin D levels, good cholesterol levels, good testosterone levels, male and female, is going to be massively beneficial there.
Yeah. What else was there? I was thinking of vitamin deficiencies. If you look at the list of deficiencies, like the symptoms for deficiencies in vitamin D, one of the big ones is chronic fatigue and your muscle, like a chronic muscle soreness.
Right.
So there is no concrete evidence that vitamin D improves performance. There's a mechanism there, but it's not completely understood.
And it's an interesting one. You make an interesting point. With science, just because something isn't proven yet doesn't mean it's disproven. It's like we're in a dark room and the torch hasn't reached that part yet. It's not to say that the desk isn't in the corner. We just the light hasn't got around to it.
They know it's doing something. They don't know whether it has to be paired with something else or like what the pathways. They don't understand that, but it's definitely doing something.
I think it's going to be some sort of testosterone link.
Yeah.
Testosterone, cortisol, maybe an estrogen, like an anti effect on an estrogen type thing. So it's like because testosterone is linked to your growth hormone, linked to recovery, and not just muscle building, but just muscle recovery. Like you mentioned, soreness before. So you have low testosterone, low vitamin D, you're sore, and you're pulling and taking longer to recover from each workout. That just kills your ability to get. If you're a high performing athlete, and you're trying to train 5, 6, 7, 8 times a week. Yeah, you just can't keep up with that.
You got to, as much as you're putting in, you have to work on your ability to recover.
Exactly.
It just popped into my head about the fats. So all your cell membranes is a phospholipid bilayer, and it's made of fat. I found an interesting point on red blood cells is that a good ratio of omega-3 to omega-6s gives your red blood cells a higher deformability. If that's a word, I'm pretty sure that's a word. So when it's moving through your capillary beds, it's much more able to
flexible?
Yeah, it's flexible through the capillary beds and can take on oxygen on and let it go, and carbon dioxide as well. And that's the exchange rate is a lot more powerful.
Fitness.
Yeah, omega-3
is that an omega-3 factor?
Yeah, absolutely. Omega-3 may be fat overall.
Right.
But yeah, it's people with that 1 to 24 ratio really suffer.
So and so iron is a big one when it comes to red blood cells as well. So red blood cells and hemoglobin, which is iron, they suck in the oxygen molecules from the blood into the lungs, take it out, and then distribute it to the body's other capillaries. And so having a high fat, having a better fat ratio in your blood helps that as well.
Yeah. Helps that red blood. It just makes that red blood cells a little more healthy, a little more able to deform and move through the capillaries.
And more likely to suck on and give up its oxygen molecules.
Yeah.
And then obviously take carbon dioxide on the way out as well, the reverse. I did not know that.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I like that one.
Blood. There you go. Yeah. Okay, so we've covered omega-3s, essential just to bring that ratio down. Then you've got vitamin D, which is your bone health, calcium absorption, cholesterol levels, testosterone, recovery rate, general mood as well, mental health, vitamin D, fats, cholesterol is going to be linked to your serotonin and your brain health.
70% of the US population. I couldn't find Australian stats. I tried to.
There's none, are there? There's always US.
Yeah. 70% of the US population are deficient in vitamin D. Yeah, we just don't spend anywhere near the amount of time outside that we used to. That's how the body was sort of evolved to. Yeah.
Hence, maybe taking some capsules along with some sun and trying to get more sun exposure into your day is probably the best answer there.
Absolutely.
Your stat brings me on to the third one we're going to cover today, magnesium.
Yes.
Another one that's massively deficient.
Yeah. One of the 4 key electrolytes.
Yeah.
So along with sodium, potassium, and calcium.
Nice. I did not know the calcium one. So the 4 electrolytes that you get in like sports drinks and the things that you sweat out, you've got sodium's a big one, salt. Potassium?
Potassium, and calcium.
And then magnesium.
Yeah, right. So they carry charges and they work to balance inside and outside the cells. They work for your action potentials in your nervous system.
And these are your minerals. These are minerals now. So salt obviously is found in salt. That's pretty obvious. Potassium is found in a lot of veggies and a lot of fruits. So bananas is the famous one, but actually avocados have more.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure avocados have more. And then there's a heap of nuts have lots, like Brazil nuts are great, almonds are good. Walnuts are awesome, chia, flaxseed, those sort of things are good. When it comes to your calcium, you've got dairy, which is good. Green leafy veg is also really good for calcium.
Yeah, absolutely. Like your kales and your chards and things like
broccoli,
that.
spinach, things like that. Chard. I don't eat chard. What's chard? Is it like a silver beet?
Silver beet. Yeah, I think it's called chard in America.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Chard / silver beet.
Yeah.
And then the last one is magnesium. So magnesium, the reason it's so important, I don't know the stat for the deficiency rate, but it'd be
45%
of the population deficient. Thank
you. Podcast.
American or you? American again. American, yeah. So there you go. So 70% deficient in vitamin D. 45% of the population is deficient in magnesium, and that's due to, I don't want to get all.
In saying that quickly, athletic population is way better because athletes are more aware that they're sweating out these minerals and they're getting in the drinks and things like that, and things like brands like Gatorade work to get your electrolytes and things like that. So athletic populations, a lot better. General population, 45%.
And we'll get to the benefits of magnesium in a second because it's good for athletes and general pop. So magnesium is found in the soil. Plants soak it up, and then you eat the plant, and the plant has magnesium in it. The problem is with current, and this is a bit conspiratorial here, I'm not being a conspiracy theorist, but it's interesting. With monocropping, so where you plant wheat, harvest, plant wheat, harvest, plant wheat, the soil becomes deficient in those nutrients. So the wheat initially might have been great nutritionally, but the more you plant on, and soil and crops and paddocks these days don't get enough time to rest because you want to make more money, and farmers are trying to make a living, so they don't rest. They used to have like a 4, so you do 3 on, 1 off, and then you rotate that.
Allow those nutrients to get back into the soil.
Every 4 years, a piece of soil would have a complete rest, whereas they don't get that these days. And so the magnesium is sucked out of the soil, and all their general foods, like things like wheat, oats, barley, grains, all those sort of stuff, rice, they have significantly less magnesium in it. And because that's the staple of our diet these days, and there's nothing wrong with that if you're tolerant, like celiac's a little different, but that's fine. But then there's not as much magnesium in that. We're not getting as much green stuff in our diet, and like leafy veg and fruits and nuts and stuff.
Spinach and kale again.
Spinach, kale, chard. And your nuts as well. So therefore, some form of supplement can help to sort of, other than eating 2 bags of broccoli or spinach a day, it's a better way to do it that way.
Absolutely. Where to next? Well,
magnesium function, I suppose.
Magnesium. Well, the cool stat I found. So ATP, adenosine triphosphate,
the energy of life, the molecule that creates contraction.
What your body uses to do this. I was moving my arm really quickly for those listening.
Not only that, but also just for your brain to send signals, for your organs to digest, for your liver to do its things, for hormones to be produced. Everything requires ATP.
So ATP, as written in textbooks, it's just ATP. But what it actually is, and it can be written as,
even more scientific,
is Mg ATP. So Mg is the symbol for magnesium.
Yep.
ATP requires magnesium to be biochemically active. It will not do its job without a magnesium ion attached to it to give it that charge.
Because electrolytes, they're like electrically charged. And so when you send a signal down the nerve axon, is it sodium on the inside, potassium on the outside? Or the other way around?
I think it's the other way around.
So potassium on the inside, sodium
I always
on the outside.
got that wrong. So.
There's a sodium-potassium channel. And so you send the electrical impulse, and what happens is, as it's going along, basically those flip. So sodium pumps out, potassium via these pumps, and then that helps conduct electrically down the bottom. At the end, though, once you get to the muscle, you have to release calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum.
Great word.
If you want a big one. That's basically like this stuff that's on the outside of each muscle cell, and that contains calcium. The sodium potassium ions do the thing, sends a signal into the sarcoplasmic reticulum. That releases calcium, which then goes and binds the actin and myosin and clears the space so the ATP with the magnesium can do its thing. The problem is here, just bear with me. If the calcium stays inside the blood, inside the muscle, just floating around outside the sarcoplasmic reticulum, it can create problems. It can block and cause fatigue.
Yeah, your muscle will continue to contract.
Yeah, and kind of goes into spasm.
Try to contract.
Kind of goes into this attempted spasm, if you will. And so often when it comes to fatigue, it's not so much your ability to continue contracting hard, it's can you relax to start the next one. That's the problem. And this is where magnesium comes in. So magnesium will help soak that calcium back into the sarcoplasmic reticulum.
Yeah, it's again, it carries a charge, and it's required for that calcium sort of gate
channel pump thing
to redraw that calcium
to start the next contraction. And this is happening like in instants of seconds, and it's happening constantly at different parts of the muscle in different ratios. But I didn't know the magnesium ATP part.
Yeah, so it can be written as Mg ATP in its active state.
So I need to double down my scoops because it just got twice as important.
Yeah,
okay, so magnesium, do you take it?
Yes, I take it after I work out.
Oh, yes, very good point. Because of that calcium sucking up effect, it also has a general relaxant effect on the body. So it is a mild sort of nervous system muscle relaxant. So it's great before bed. I have it before it knocks me out nearly every time.
Yep.
And I have powder. How do you have yours?
Tablet.
You take a tablet?
Yeah, tablet. I got a whole bunch of tablets when I went to the Richmond Grand Final because Tigers. They gave them all out. And so I've got
so that people could get to bed that night.
I've got bottles and bottles of tablets at home, so I'm a tablet man at the moment, but I'm not sure what the difference is.
Yeah, so I'm not 100% on this, but there are different forms of magnesium. So you can get magnesium phosphate, you can get magnesium... Citrate, I think is the one. And there's other ones as well, but from the depth I've gone into it, I believe magnesium citrate or citrate, how you pronounce it, is the better one. And so I looked around
more readily.
Your body absorbs it faster, and more of it is usable by the body. So when we take in supplements, food, whatever it is, not all of it's got 100% of my RDI for vitamin A.
Yeah.
That might not necessarily get all the way through your body. Some of it will be excreted out because your body's it's not like a machine. It has bits where it doesn't do right, and it has bits where it does do well, depending on what you eat. And nutrient relationships are a big deal there.
Or back to vitamin D. Your body needs vitamin D to absorb calcium.
Bingo. So, iron and vitamin C.
Yeah.
There's another one that comes to mind. So not to get off track. But yeah, so magnesium citrate, I believe, is more readily available. But I do remember reading, I didn't get a chance to dive into the article, but there was another one again, which was even better. So if I find that between now and tomorrow, or if I do find it, I'll let you know.
Yeah. And back to the original point, I take it after exercise. Do not take it before exercise. It has that relaxing effect.
Yeah, perfect post-exercise with your shake. So you go your protein and maybe some Gatorade and maybe some magnesium. Like a little bit in your Gator shake or whatever, or your sports drink while you're playing. They've got like trace amounts of magnesium. That's fine. But when we're talking about like a powdered scoop where we're talking about like 500 micrograms or whatever it might be in a scoop, I don't know the exact number, we're like talking 10, 15-fold the amount of magnesium. So that would be a post-exercise or a pre-bed thing, for sure. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's placebo, but I definitely have it. And within 45 minutes, I'm kind of like a little...
I feel it too.
Oh, I just got to put the book down and go to bed.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but it's working and I like it.
Yeah, and don't discount placebo. Like if you do a thing and you feel amazing for it,
keep doing the thing.
Yeah, don't rock that boat. Just keep rolling with it.
Yeah.
Any more you want to touch on?
Well, I remembered another fact.
Zigzagging around.
Yeah, zigzagging around, sorry. Vitamin D is responsible for the sort of upregulation of over 1,000 genes in the human body.
Is that a lot? Because
that is a lot. That is 1/24th of all the genes in your body.
So we're talking about 4%.
Yeah.
4% of your body, 4% of the actions in your body require.
70% of people deficient, and it is responsible for your genes to be able to do their job in 4% of your genome.
There you go.
Yeah.
What percentage is water? Water's like 100%, isn't it?
Probably.
Every chemical process requires water or something?
Yeah. We're mostly water, so that would make sense.
Okay, so there you go. So we've got fish oil.
Yep.
I take 1.5 grams in the morning. I just do a standard, I don't even know what the brand is, it's just the standard fish oil capsules. You can get ones that like they're all saying unflavored or like no fishy aftertaste.
Yep.
I've never had a fishy aftertaste
ever.
I don't think that's actually a thing.
Yeah.
But you can get fish oil, you can get krill oil. I'm pretty sure there's vegetarian and vegan options as well. They're like flaxseed, chia, things like that.
Yep.
But then you've got, in the real world, you've got salmon, nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds are actually a bit omega-6y. So I'd check into each one individually. But you've got avocado, flaxseed, chia, fish. They're the big ones.
Yeah, they're the big ones.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then we had vitamin D, which
obviously from the sun.
I'm not taking it, but you do take it.
I do take it. Yep. I take. Again, I don't know, but it's the international unit.
2.
Again.
Yeah, each capsule is usually 1 international unit or 1,000 or whatever it is.
So I'll take 2 of those a day.
Yeah. And then they're still not sure how many units you need because it's from the sun. And because your body does a good job of making a lot of its own vitamin D, you just kind of need to kickstart it a bit.
And depending on where you are on Earth, like people way up in the northern hemisphere who are getting less sun exposure, especially during winter, do a much better job of. This might be the opposite actually. I think they do a much better job of absorbing in the summer because they don't get it in the winter. And it has to do with the pigment of your
the pigment of your skin will deflect more of the vitamin D and more of the UV. Because UV is what UVB creates, is what synthesizes. So this is why you need some sun, just not too much sun. So for all our Jamaican listeners,
yes,
all the rules will apply a little differently than our Melburnians and Tasmanians.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't take fish oil though. I do take fish oil. I don't take vitamin D. I used to. I don't take it. I just make sure I get enough sun, and not just every day, but across my week.
Yeah.
So, like for example, some days I'll be all day in the office. Other days I'll try and walk into work, and I'll walk home, or I'll go for a walk at lunch, whatever it might be. And then the third supplement we covered was magnesium. I take that religiously, pretty much 5 to 6 nights a week, and because I train at night, I'll work, finish the shift at 8. I will then train, and before bed I'll have my scoop of powdered stuff. I prefer the powder; tastes alright, and
If I'm sweating, I'll make sure I'll get a bit of magnesium in my day. Yeah. There has to be a part 2 on this.
Oh yeah, there will, because there's like caffeine and creatine and hydrolyzed collagen and BCAAs, and there's a umpteen million different supplements.
We got a lot more to go.
Some of them good, some of them bad. I think we'll chip away over the next few months and get to it. James will supply us with some links to those studies you mentioned.
Yep.
And then they'll be in the resources section. So thanks for tuning in, guys.